Welcome to the Not Superheroes Gets Dads podcast. No, we can't fly. No, we can't shoot lasers or pick up giant buildings. But what we can do is help set the foundations for our families, be present for our kids, and combat generational cycles. On this podcast, we dive into everything dad related, from the struggles we deal with as fathers to what our favorite thing to barbecue is. Hello, I'm Sean Laurie. Hope you guys are doing great today. If you guys are actually watching or listening, as of today, right, June 10th, it is officially my birthday, so I am thankful, blessed to see another year for sure. And honestly, you guys have already been giving me a huge gift just by, telling people about the podcast, supporting, subscribing. Again, I'm so humbled, thankful for that. So yeah, man, today's a beautiful day. I hope you guys had an amazing weekend, of course, like always. But yeah, continue to subscribe, share, tell a friend, like. It definitely is much appreciated. Now, with that being said, let's be real, guys. Right? It's summertime, right? It's summertime now for us as fathers, and at times it could be a lot, right? It could be a lot because you might be trying to plan a trip, but money might be a little tight, or your schedule isn't lining up. Maybe you're stuck at work while the kids are out of school, and you're trying to find someone to maybe watch them, or maybe you're just trying to figure out how to be more present in those little moments when life keeps moving, right? And so in this episode, I want to talk a little bit about that, about I guess some of the summer tension, in a sense. The pressure to do it all at times, the guilt that can creep up in many ways, right? And so, yeah, man, I guess, because it's, especially now, right, 2025, we, as people, like, some of us, right, we feel like we have to try to create that Instagram-worthy, that social media moment, in a sense, right? Oh, man, everyone else is, they're going to Hawaii, they're going to Vegas, they're going to San Diego, they're going wherever, right? They're going to all these amazing places, and you get caught up in the sense like, dang, like, maybe I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, maybe I'm missing out, right? But, if it's not in line with what you have, then, or with your schedule, then you have to be okay with that, right? Because it's like, what to do, when you can't afford that vacation, or your schedule doesn't allow for you to be to do certain things. And like I always tell you guys, right? Like the thing I always like to say, right, is don't have to be perfect, be present, right? And in that, just being present, because a lot of times our kids just want our time, right? So if it's just something simple as going to the park, which I actually did the other day, actually. Right, took it to the park. One of the parks had it was like a water park mixed with a regular park. So took him there. We ran in the water, had a good time. Right, had a little water fight. Honestly, I plan on having like a little Nerf gun war with them. I think that would be pretty fun as well. But if just different things like that, right? Being creative. With the kids, when you do have that time, right? It could be going hiking, right? Even though my girls don't, when it comes to the heat, they don't do very well with the heat at all. They get all red and tired and be complaining. But, right, but for you guys, hikes, if you guys are actually near a beach, right, making a beach day, right, going to a museum, right, going to maybe a local event, just different creative ways that can really make it feel special, make it feel like, okay, hey, we are doing something. Hey, my kids aren't just stuck at a house, or stuck at their grandma's house, or stuck at their grandparents' house, or, whatever the case is. But again, I know it can be difficult, because especially if we're working, right, we're trying to provide, we're trying to make sure just because the kids are out, we're not out, right? It doesn't change for us. So we still have to figure out, okay, at the end of the day, we got to make sure there's food on the table, but also know that my kids also want my time, or my kids also are bored, right? They're tired of playing the video game, or they're tired of being at their cousin's house or whatever the case is. Um, so at times it's difficult just because you're like, dang, I have all these other responsibilities, but my kids don't really understand that, or they don't really care, which is understandable because again they're kids, right? So you know the the thing that we have to be conscious of is like the guilt in a sense. At least I can speak for me, but like the guilt that like I'm missing certain moments, right? Because I am forced to be, not even forced, because at the end of the day we don't have to do anything, but I have the mindset where I'm going to provide, right? So, hey, I'm constantly in grind mode because I want to make sure that I'm providing for my kids. So just understanding, hey, you're not missing moments. Instead of looking at it like, man, in the summer I can't do certain things with them, I'm missing moments. Look at it like, you know what, when I do have the time, let me create those moments. And that's way more important, you creating those moments, than you getting in your head saying you're missing moments or you're comparing yourself to what you see what they're doing on social media, right? Just because they're going to all these wonderful places doesn't mean that your family still can't have a good time too. I was planning on going to California, right? But different things wasn't lined up, like I shared with you guys, right? We just moved and stuff like that. So I have all these moving parts. So of course I miss my family in California. My whole family wants to, we want to go and visit the rest of our family in California. There's so much going on, from graduations, with my younger brother just graduated, shout out to him, you know, my grandparents, they have stuff going on and I want to check on them, and my parents, because, so many different things that I would like to do, right? But in this season I'm in, I have to understand that's not in line with what I have going on and be okay with that. Um, so I want to share that with you guys, and also for those, again, for at least for me, I told y'all I don't have family out here, right? So for me it gets tricky, and I'm sure there's many of you guys that deal with the same thing where it's like, man, it's hard to find a babysitter, right, or summer child care that maybe is affordable. So you gotta think of different creative ways. Okay, you know what? They have science camp, they have basketball camp, football camp, whatever, right? Um, if you do have family members, that's able to help out, then obviously that's a blessing, that's a great thing. But sometimes you don't. Maybe the family member you need to help out can't help out, right? And so let's be honest. Now you're forced to be like, hey, you have your 13-year-old or something. They pretty much home by themselves, right? Because you have to work. So you're like, hey, I got the food for you. Lock the doors, you know, and that's pretty much it, right? And then you get home or whatever the case is, you're tired and they want your time. And you're like, dang, well, or they're bored, they're complaining they're bored. And you're like, dang, well, I can't do that at the moment, right? I'm not able to do that. And that's where, at least for me, that's where I had to realize, like, okay, not just for my kids, but for me, I need to create that structure, right? Um, I think it's important for kids and parents, right? Us as fathers, we need structure, especially in the summertime. I feel like, because it's one of those things where time will just pass by, right? And for me, I create a schedule for my kids, so they're constantly doing something. Now, are they going to play games and stuff like that at times? Of course, but I want them to also feel like they're accomplishing something, right? So I have it, I've created a schedule literally where it's just like, hey, in the morning, eat breakfast, brush your teeth, read a book, do this worksheet right here, do, some push-ups over here, clean up over here, right? So I have like different structures for them to do. So then by the time they do get to playing their games or whatever the case is, they have that, self-awareness. I guess they have that fulfillment in a sense. Is like, okay, I accomplished all this, and now I'm just, now I'm playing the game or whatever the case is. So it's not one of those things where they're looking at it like, I'm just playing the game every day and that's all I'm doing, right? Or, my summer's just passing by, and maybe, our kids a lot of times, right, they don't care. They're happy playing Fortnite the whole time, right? Like they're not tripping on it. But for me, I want to make sure that when my kids go back to school, they're ready, right? Because I remember for me, that's probably why they shrink the summer breaks. Because if y'all old enough, you remember, not having to go back to school to like September, right? Now it's August, right? And so, but in that, I remember I was just playing, having a good time, and when I went back to school, I couldn't remember nothing. Like, it took me like a month to get back into the groove and to remember and everything, right? And so for me, I want to make sure my kids don't deal with that same thing. So I build that structure where they're still being challenged mentally, right? But also still having fun, right? They're being challenged even emotionally, right? But still having fun. So it's like little different things, different tasks. Because I look at it like, hey, in the summer, that's a time for you to level up, right? You're going into a new grade, so that's a time for you to level up in whatever it is. So for me, that's what I created, that structure for them, you know, just so just so because I feel like as kids, they all need it. Just think about for us too. If think about wherever you work at, right? If there's no structure in your job, it'll probably be chaotic. A lot of stuff probably want to get done, right? Those people that you work with that slack off, they will slack off even more, right? Same thing goes for our household, right? We got to create that structure, whatever that looks like. So having that morning routine, having that reading time, having that X amount of screen time, right? It also is going to, empower, the older kids, to lead, help them to lead, right? Help with their younger siblings if it's age appropriate and stuff like that, right? So I know for my son, it's helped him because he's been forced to lead his two younger siblings, right? And obviously, when my oldest is not working and stuff like that, right, she's leading all of them, right? Because she's the oldest, right? And so, just giving them that empowerment, giving them that responsibility, even though, again, as you know, kids don't really want responsibility if it's up to them. They just play Fortnite, Roblox, whatever the case is, have a good time, chill, and that's it. But, just really making a something where even they might not realize it, but giving them something that they could really build with and they could take it on with them, not just at home, not just at school, but in life. So that's why I think it's important. And it also gives, certain things. If you're like, hey, at the end of the week, I don't know, Friday, you guys take care of all your business. We're going to do whatever. We're going to go out to Cheesecake Factory. I don't know, right? It gives the kids, it gives the family something to look forward to, right? It gives them something to be excited about, like, oh shoot, like, okay, I have this that I can look forward to, and so that's a beautiful thing in itself. So that's what that's why I want to really share with y'all is just how important the structure is. But understanding, like I said, like not to feel guilty during the summers, during you're not being able to do certain things, feeling like you're not doing enough, right? When you can't plan like those huge things, or like I said, being conscious of comparing. That's why at times, I've told y'all this before, I'm not big on social media, right? And at times, like people will message me, and it's not that I'm ignoring you, it's just because maybe for a day or two, I'm just off. I'm not really trying to be on social media just because I need a break, right? But those that's in the space where, things might be tight or whatever, right? You might not want to even see it because you're in a comparison game, right? I've seen it happen with sports, right? Oh man, this kid is doing this, all summer, and I gotta work. I can't. It's like, okay, well, your schedule isn't lined up to be able to do that, right? Like, okay, you know what? I don't know, that dad is retired, right? You're not retired, so he's able to work on his son with his soccer, football, basketball, whatever, or he had whatever his circumstances is different, right? And so just being able to like alternate and adjust, right, what you have to do or what you're trying to do, right? But like I say, just being conscious of that, and just constantly building those moments for yourself. Or shoot, what I like to have for myself is, with the kids is like a family night. You know what I mean? Family night. Bible studies for me and my family. Late night talks. Just little different things like that. I think goes a long way for sure. And then, again, for us working, you're doing crazy amount of hours, or your schedule's just not lined up. You do graveyard or whatever the case is, right? Just being intentional with your time, right? Making the most of your evenings or weekends or whatever time schedule. Because if you work graveyard, for example, right? So the daytime is probably the time that you can hang out with your family, right? So you just have to adjust accordingly, and blocking out certain things, making it like, hey, this is non-negotiable. Like, this is strictly dad time. Like, you know what? I know, shoot, the finals is on, right? Like, I know basketball's on, the finals, basketball, but I said before even I knew the schedule for the finals, I said that this was going to be the time I was going to be with the kids, because at the end of the day, I only have so much time because of my work schedule, right? And so just having those non-negotiables and not budging from it. Oh, dang, you know what? The homies invited me here, and I really wanted to go here, but I want to make sure for my kids, right? That's where I'm gonna be at. That's where I need to. That's where I need to be. That's where I need to continue to go, right? Something like that. And just like I said, just having those non-negotiables, and even if it's one of those things where maybe taking that time out for one child at a time, right? Because your schedule is so hectic. It's like, hey, you know what? I want to do all these different things with you guys, but I can't. So you know what? This week I'm gonna go out with this child, and I'm gonna hang out with them, spend time with them. Next week I'm strictly gonna be focused on this child, right? And so it's like, hey, let you guys know I have to provide, I have to do all these different things, but yet I'm still gonna make sure that you know that you are my world. You know that I care for you, I love you, right? All those different things, just like literally having a time slot or a day slot, whatever, for one kid. If you don't have time to do all of them, especially if it's like, hey, one wants to go to the park, like I told y'all, right? I go to the park, but my youngest daughter is not a park person like that, right? At all. So I have to figure out, okay, what works for her. She likes to draw, so maybe, saying that time out to, hey, let's draw together. Let's, matter of fact, next time I gotta show y'all one of the pictures she drew from One Piece. If y'all know, it's like an anime, but she drew one of the characters, right? And I know that's something she enjoys. So just different things like that, or shoot, it can even be one of those things where I said be intentional with the time. So maybe using the summer to build a new habit, right? A new tradition, right? Maybe it's, hey, you're not really been on the grill before, but you're like, man, you know what, on, I don't know, Juneteenth, 4th of July, whatever the case is, that's the time slot that I have the time off. So, you know what, I'm going to make sure I barbecue, right? Every summer, that's going to be something I learned. That's something I know to do. Now the kids have something to look forward to, right? And it's not only going to be a new skill or a new thing that you picked up, but now it's something where you can still use that to spend time with them too now, right? Because you learned how to barbecue, so now you're teaching your boys. Or shoot, you might be teaching your daughters too, right? Hey, this is how dad throws down on the grill. If you ever want to, this is how you could do X, Y, and Z, right? Which would be pretty dope, right? It would be pretty dope. And including your kids in the process, right? Like I said, like just simple as a barbecue or whatever the case is, but even asking your kids, like, what would make this summer fun for you, right? Like, what is something that you would love to do? And if it's something that you can do, if it's something that's in your budget, if it's something that's you have time for, right? Maybe it's something you can make happen. Because a lot of times, we're thinking it has to be some crazy type of ridiculous summer trip, but all they want is to go to Sky Zone, right? All they want is to go to the mall with you or whatever the case is, right? Or just, hey, if I can just go paintballing with one of my friends, right? Just something simple like that could go a long way. But even letting them help you plan out something, because now not only are you trying to set some time aside to hang out with them during the summer, but now they're feeling included. Now they're feeling like, dang, okay, you know what, like, this is on me. Like, you're also actually teaching them something. You're giving them a teaching moment and having them be responsible in a sense, right? Where it's like, man, okay, like, dang, dad trusts me to to plan out what we gonna do this weekend. Like, that's a big deal. Like, I can't mess this up. I gotta make sure I come through, because, man, you know what? Dad normally maps it out. Like, he maps out what's gonna happen, but he's letting me this weekend, right? Just different things like that, man. I think just would go a long way, to be honest with you. And then, just with all that being said, just making sure that in the summers, because you might not be in that situation. You might be in a situation like, no, hey, I'm able to travel. I'm able to spend whatever I need to spend to do this. I'm able to do all these different things with my kids and my family, which is amazing, which is great. You're able to go to Disneyland, whatever. That is absolutely a beautiful thing. Now, with that, though, just make sure, if you're on the other side of it where you're constantly on the go, just make sure you understand the importance of rest as well, right? If you're in the position where you're constantly just able to go and travel and go, it seems like every day, every other weekend, every weekend you're traveling with the family, doing all these things, just make sure you know that you should rest as well. Rest is going to be super key for you, because you don't want to get burned out, right? You don't want to burn yourself out trying to do all these different things. And just understand that it's okay to say no sometimes, right? It doesn't mean you're a bad father because, you know what, hey, this weekend we can't go to the beach, and they might not like it, but it's like, man, you know what, we traveled, from whatever, we drove from state to state, right, all summer, and I need a break, right? So again, even if you get in your head thinking, man, I let my kids down, no, like, it's okay as well. Like, you can't try to accomplish it all. It's just one summer, right? There will be plenty more, right, that you can accomplish whatever it is you want to accomplish. So for those that is in a different place where they're like, no, I am actually able to do these different things, that's amazing. Just make sure, though, that you're able to rest, right? Making sure as well, like, you have those other dads you could talk to, right? Other communities, other brotherhood. That's why, I'm doing what I'm doing now, right, guys? Just because I want us to build that brotherhood. I want us to build that community. I want it to be like, man, okay, I'm not the only one dealing with this. Okay, I'm not the only one struggling with this. And there's other things I want to do outside of this podcast as well to continue to build that brotherhood for us. But, if you have a coworker, if you have, that neighbor, family members, whatever, other men, other fathers you could speak with, just make sure, you're doing that as well. Because I always want to make sure I do emphasize just the mental health aspect as well, just because, for us, we're constantly on the go. Like I said, especially in the summer, in the summer, a lot of us will have that mindset, oh, this is my chance to do all these different things with them because they have the time, right? And maybe you have the time too, depending on your schedule. But again, just making sure you're leaning in with other fathers, other men as well. And so, like I said, creating those moments, right? And I just wanted to share something with you guys as well, because I mentioned the barbecue and stuff like that, right? And just like how, I want to get a grill. I want to get start barbecuing in my backyard because we have a pretty big backyard. But in those moments, like, because my son, my youngest son, just saying how excited he is for me to be, grilling, right? In those little moments, and it didn't really seem much to me at first, but the fact that he keeps talking about it makes me want to do it more, right? It makes me want to hurry up and get the things that I want to get. The fact that, my kids was just excited to be in the backyard, right? To be in a big backyard where they can play, where, they have all this space. It's something so simple like that, but the fact that, hey, Dad, go in the backyard with us and play, right? And me just playing with them, me throwing the football, me playing tag with them, whatever the case is, like, me doing those simple things, it's not a big, lavish, whatever. We didn't go to no resort or nothing like that, right? But the fact that I was able to create a special moment with them just playing in the backyard, right, goes a long way. That's why I say, like, a lot of times they just want our time. They just want our attention, right? But yeah, just something that I've learned over the years is just, our kids just really want to be seen, want to be heard, and at the end of the day, you know, no amount of money is going to change that, right? My best memories that I have as a kid had to do more so with time than it had to do with finances, right? And as long as we remember that, I think at the end of the day, man, we're gonna as long as we do that, man, I think our family's gonna have an amazing summer. You're gonna have an amazing summer, right? As long as you continue to structure it the way that it needs to be structured. And yeah, man, and so I just wanted to share that with you guys as something that I want us to be mindful of, because again, as the summers now basically really starting, even though it's been hot since May, it seems like, but but it's something that I just want us to be mindful of. Understand that, hey, again, if you're able to do all the different things you want to do, that's amazing, that's great. But if you're not, that's okay too, right? And if you are able to go to all these wonderful places, different trips, amazing as well, just don't burn yourself out, right? Don't burn yourself out trying to be so focused on making sure that you're trying to do everything all in one summer, and don't burn yourself out trying to look good for social media. At the end of the day, it's social media, right? You don't know how long it took them to plan whatever they plan to go wherever. You don't know the sacrifices they had to make to go to wherever they're going, right? And just not to do that comparison game. That comparison game is a monster, man. It definitely will take over when we don't want it to at times. But with that being said, like, subscribe, share, guys, and like always, you don't have to be perfect, but you always have to be present. See you guys on the next one.